I am here with Charles Hunting of Genpact, CEO, Asia region. First time today on the G6 panel here in Asia. Big shoes to follow. Obviously, Tiger sat on this panel in March in Orlando.
Yep.
First experience, how did you find it up there today?
I liked it. It was good. I think it was well run. Obviously, there was an element of preparation for it, that getting to know each of the other panellists. I think a lot of them had been on it before together, and as some of the questions that came from the audience, that maybe there was some different opinions that they'd shared previously, which was interesting. But the industry evolves, and our opinions evolve with it, and I think it was fantastic. It was well set up. It was well structured. I really liked it.
I think that's fair cop as well about opinions changing, and I felt that it was quite evident that people obviously had hung on to things that had been said last year, and interesting that many of people's views on hybridisation, particularly, had evolved throughout the course of the year. What was your take on the fact that obviously there is certainly a need to match the client's demands, as it were? Ashish, for example, made it quite clear that he's no fan of hybrids, but he'll talk to a customer about it if that's what they want. What's your take on that? Do you feel like you talk to a customer about something that you wouldn't necessarily believe is something that you're a big champion of if it's what they need?
Look, I'm very simple, and I could give you 10 examples of each in Genpact, in Asia Pacific, where we're pushing outsource, a true hybrid, or some sort of shared services, virtual captive sort of a model. I think the discussion today was mainly around whether or not customers were making a decision for hybrid, versus whether or not... Sorry, let me just start the answer to that question again. I think what we saw today was a discussion about what we saw being adopted, as opposed to the decisions that customers were taking around which model they wanted to adopt. I think when you take a step back and you look at any particular company, they've got a hybrid. And yes, we may have gone in there, or Infosys or others have gone in there and tried to push outsourcing, but they've landed on, in finance and accounting, an outsource; in human resource, a co-source; in purchasing and supply chain, some sort of hybrid infusion-based model, and just as way of example. So, each sort of decision is one or the other, but when you step back and you look at all of the decisions together, the hybrid is the natural way to describe the model that's been implemented.
And you had some fairly strong views, should we say, on captives too, what they're doing right, what they're not doing right, in your opinion. I wanted to ask you to expand a bit on the comment you made around incentivisation of captives. You said they weren't incentivised to invest. Talk to us about what you actually mean by that, where you think captives potentially are going wrong with that, what could they do differently and why?
Sure. So the discussion, or the point that I was trying to make, was more around the innovation. And unless a company is driven by profit and growth, its ability to invest and drive and foster that innovative cycle is very, very challenging. And the point around captives is, and it doesn't matter how you do the transfer pricing internally, at the end of the day, that money comes back as a savings. It sits at the bottom line of that captive. It ends up in the office of the finance as a savings line, not as an investment line. Whereas service providers have a very strong investment philosophy around creating, innovation, be it at a process level, be it at an individual level, or an optimization and technology level.
All right, so let's cut to the chase on innovation, because there was an awful lot of chat about that today, and I think you all gave great answers. There was a lot of politicians' answers up there. I didn't hear one person put their hand in the air and say, you know what, here is a black and white example of something I saw that I felt was innovative. Deborah gave a clear example. She said, if you, taking the example she had around Walmart, if you saw some of your customers potentially doing something in conjunction with a retailer, that might actually make some real innovative news. Have you ever seen anything in your vast experience that you think, yeah, actually that is pretty new?
Yeah, I didn't totally understand the point that was made, order to cash at Walmart. Order to cash is really simple. There's a retailer, a credit card or cash, and it's a very simple cycle. There could be, a degree of innovation there. So in answer to your question, two things. And we haven't got it perfect yet, but actually I talked about them in my speech and also on the stage today in the G6. Things like driving the elimination of data entry. it would be a huge step forward for the industry, and it's complex. It's there's a number of different languages, there's a number of different technologies that need to be integrated to enable that to happen. That's an innovation that we're driving.
Is it completely possible? No data entry whatsoever?
Look, you never say nothing's totally impossible, right? Or nothing's ever totally impossible. Let me start back that again. Never say never. It is possible. So if you look at English language character recognition, it's already at 99%. The technology's only been around for a couple of years. Will it ever be 100%? Well, no service provider ever signs up for 100% service level on anything. So there's always going to be exceptions that need to be dealt with. There's going to be human error. There's going to be issues that need to sort of be rectified. But we should see massive amounts of reduction in the effort that's required in that space. And the innovation is set a goal that's not achievable, and by sort of striving to achieve that outcome, you'll drive a fundamental change to the way the industry works.
I just had a very similar conversation with Saku, who said, let's forget all the semantics, this is all just about what are you trying to achieve. Ultimately, that's a point you say you're agreeing with, but who knows what it is that they're actually setting out to achieve? Do you find that that's typically coming from the provider side, or is it the client who's coming to you and saying, I want to achieve X, let's put our heads together and be clever about how we can get there? How much do you guys drive that versus the clients typically in your experience?
I think it differs client by client, relationship by relationship. The more time you spend with clients, the better that you understand their business, the more you're able to help. So they say, we want to do this. You can say, well, you know what, if you wanted to sort of drive that sort of outcome, why don't we try to achieve this in addition? But it's really that that relationship together that enables the best outcome. It's neither one nor the other that drives the outcome by themselves.
Interesting. I attended NASCOM last week, I think I mentioned to you earlier. One of the things that I saw there, which didn't come up today and I expected it to, is this clear trend towards verticalization. A lot of BPO providers in the space now specialising, becoming niche in certain areas. Genpact's take on that and why? How relevant is it to really have that customer proximity, know their industry inside out? Because you've just made the point there that knowing your customer means you're going to know their objectives better.
Yeah. Too many companies are taking enterprise processes and segmenting them into a vertical and saying that they've got a vertical. We're doing it a little bit differently. If you think about the heritage of Genpact, we're very, very strong in the financial services industry. We've made acquisition recently at Headstrong to further extend our market leadership in capital markets. So having true industry insight is absolutely an imperative. You can't solve problems in credit cards unless you know credit cards. It doesn't matter how good you are at collecting cash in a retail environment. It's a different process. It requires a different set of skills. I think it's incredibly important. I don't think everybody's doing it as well as they potentially should, but creating that industry specialisation is absolutely key.
There you have it. Specialisation is key. Stick to the outcome. And above all else, it's 1% innovation, 99% just darned hard work.
Absolutely.
All right, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here, Charles. Thanks so much for joining us on the G6 today.
Lovely to see you.